In the spring of 2025, the world was still catching its breath from a decade of disruptions. And just when global markets were beginning to stabilize, a familiar voice returned to the stage, louder, bolder, and more determined than ever. Former President Donald J. Trump, now once again a leading contender for the White House, stood before the cameras and delivered a statement that would shake the pillars of international trade. The era of unfair deals is over, he declared, announcing a sweeping new plan. A 10% tariff on all imports and up to 60% on goods from China. Headlines screamed, markets tumbled, allies questioned, rivals retaliated. But beyond the noise and the political drama, one question matters most. What does this mean for your wallet? In this special, we'll break down everything you need to know about this new tariff war. How it started, who it targets, why it matters, and most importantly, how it could impact your everyday expenses, your investments, your job, and the global economy in the months ahead. This is not just about politics. It's about power. It's about price. It's about the money in your pocket and the risks that are coming fast. So, stay with us, because what's coming could reshape the way you live, work, and spend. To truly understand today's tariff war, we have to go back, not just in time, but back to the original playbook that started it all. The year was 2018. President Donald Trump, then in office, launched a full-scale trade war. And his primary target? China. The goal was clear: reduce the trade deficit, bring manufacturing back to the US, and punish what he called unfair trade practices. So, the US slapped tariffs on billions of dollars worth of Chinese goods, from steel and aluminum to electronics and clothing. China hit back hard. Tariffs were thrown right back at American products, agriculture, automotives, even Harley-Davidson. Consequences? They were complicated. Some industries benefited, others bled. Supply chains were disrupted, costs rose, manufacturing timelines slowed down, and eventually you, the consumer, felt it at the checkout line. Fast forward to 2025. Trump is no longer president, but his economic philosophy, it hasn't softened, it's hardened. His new plan, a universal baseline tariff of 10% on all imports and up to 60% on Chinese goods. It's bolder, it's broader, and it could redefine how America interacts with the global economy. Analysts are calling it a reboot of the 2018 trade war. But this time, the stakes are higher. Back then, the world was unprepared. Today, the world is on edge. Global supply chains are still fragile. Inflation is still echoing. And a second full-blown trade war might be too much for the system to handle. The big question now is, can this new strategy actually deliver what the first one promised? Or will history repeat itself, only this time with even greater consequences? When a sweeping tariff policy is announced, analysts ask one simple question: who gets hit first? Tariffs sound like they punish foreign countries, but in reality, the first impact is felt at home. US importers, American businesses, and you, the consumer, are usually the ones paying the price. When costs rise at the port, they rise at the store too. Industries that rely on imported components, they'll feel the pressure early. Electronics, automotive, construction, retail, car manufacturers sourcing parts from Mexico, Germany, or China, they'll see production costs spike. Now they face a choice: absorb the hit or pass it on. To you, the tech sector, already strained by chip shortages, now faces a new threat. Laptops, smartphones, networking equipment. Most are built or assembled overseas. A 10% tariff raises the cost across the board. And for companies running on razor-thin margins, even a small increase can kill growth and slow innovation. Retailers will be next. From big box giants to your local store, they rely on foreign-made clothing, electronics, furniture. Prices will rise, choices may shrink. And for consumers already tired of inflation, this will hit hard, especially for low-income households, where every dollar matters more. And don't forget, the farmers. They may not import goods, but they often become collateral damage. In trade wars, agriculture is the first battleground. China has a history of targeting American soybeans, corn, and pork. When exports get cut off, farms suffer, rural economies shake, and once again, the politics of tariffs come crashing down on the people who can least afford it. For Donald Trump, tariffs were never just about trade. They've always been a statement of strength, a signal to the world. America will no longer be taken advantage of. But behind the political firepower lies a complex economic gamble. Tariffs can protect American industries, but they also raise prices, disrupt supply chains, and provoke retaliation. It's a risky bet, and the stakes are enormous. Trump argues that tariffs will level the playing field, that China and others have flooded the U.S. with cheap goods, stealing jobs and wealth from American workers. His solution: force companies to bring manufacturing back home. More factories, more jobs, higher wages. But critics say the global economy doesn't work like that. You can't just bring back supply chains with a signature. In fact, many economists call tariffs what they truly are: a tax on you. When imports get expensive, companies raise their prices. That cost trickles down from corporations to households. And in an economy still recovering from inflation, that trickle becomes a flood. Wages struggle to keep up. Spending slows, demand shrinks. And then there's the matter of retaliation. Because when you slap tariffs on other nations, they don't just accept it. They hit back. U.S. farmers, aircraft manufacturers, tech exporters, all could find themselves locked out of key markets, caught in the crossfire of political retribution. So is this economic genius or a high-stakes roll of the dice? Trump is betting on protectionism to fuel a new era of American greatness. But if he's wrong, consumers will pay, markets will stagger, and growth could stall. As voters decide who they trust with the economy, one thing is clear: this trade war isn't just policy, it's history in the making. The world was watching, and it didn't take long for the reaction to begin. Within hours of Trump's tariff announcement, foreign leaders were already raising their voices. From Beijing to Brussels, allies, rivals, each planning their next move. Because in global trade, no decision happens in isolation. Every action sends ripples through every economy on the planet. China was the first to respond. As expected, state media called the move economic bullying. Trade officials warned of retaliation. And if Trump follows through with a 60% tariff on Chinese goods, Beijing could strike back hard. U.S. soybeans, aircraft, rare earth minerals. China could cut off supply chains vital to American tech and even defense industries. The chessboard is open. Every move is strategic. Every consequence, global. In Europe, disappointment, concern. The European Union, already battling internal instability, warned that a universal tariff could trigger a wider trade war. Some member states are even discussing counter-tariffs on wine, on planes, on tech. Historic allies, now on the verge of economic tension, at a time when unity is more fragile than ever. And what about emerging economies? Mexico, Vietnam, India. They're nervous, caught in the crossfire, but also eyeing opportunity. If China becomes too expensive, these nations could attract new manufacturing contracts, more business, more leverage, but also more risk. In diplomacy, every economic action is also a political message, and Trump's message is loud and clear: America first, no matter the cost. Whether that inspires respect, fear, or retaliation depends entirely on what the world does next. You might be thinking, this all sounds like politics and policy. But here's the truth. Tariffs affect real people. Every single day, they hit your wallet, your job, your grocery bill, your future. If you're buying a new car, upgrading your phone, shopping for groceries, or just trying to save a few extra dollars, this trade war matters to you. Let's start with prices. When tariffs raise the cost of imports, companies don't just absorb that cost, they pass it on to you. Higher prices on laptops, on clothing, on furniture, even on food. And for families already battling inflation, this stings. Budgets get tighter. Paychecks don't stretch as far. Small businesses, they'll feel it too. Margins shrink, and the decisions get harder. Raise prices, cut costs, lay off staff, or close for good. Now, what about jobs? Industries that rely on exports, agriculture, tech, manufacturing, they could face shrinking demand. Foreign buyers push back, orders dry up, and suddenly, layoffs begin. Yes, new jobs may be created in the long run, but will they come in time? And then there's your money, your investments, your retirement. Markets hate uncertainty, and this tariff war, it's a storm of it. Stocks may swing, investors may pull out, and your 401k, your savings, your portfolio, they could feel the tremor. In the end, this isn't just about Trump, or China, or Washington. This is about you, your wallet, your job, your family, your future. What happens on the world stage doesn't stay there. It shows up in your life, at the register, on your paycheck, in your bank account. And in the months ahead, understanding this shift and preparing for it could be the smartest financial move you make this year. No one can predict the future with certainty. But if history, economics, and global politics have taught us anything, it's that trade wars have consequences. They don't always unfold in a straight line. Sometimes they simmer, sometimes they explode, and sometimes they quietly reshape the world over years. If Trump returns to the White House and brings his tariff agenda with him, we could witness a global economic realignment. Some nations may band together, forging new alliances, building trade blocs, creating shields against U.S. pressure. Others, they'll focus inward, investing in self-sufficiency, building factories, protecting tech. The era of globalization as we knew it may be coming to an end. Here at home, we may see a rise in economic nationalism, more Buy American campaigns, more scrutiny on foreign businesses, more politicians on both sides embracing protectionism. Even Trump's critics may borrow from his playbook, because in the post-trade war economy, made in America wins votes. But there's another path, a quieter one, behind closed doors, in diplomatic backrooms. Negotiation, tariffs may just be leverage, a bargaining chip to force better trade terms, fairer rules, tougher enforcement, Whether Trump uses tariffs as policy or tactic will determine whether this leads to pain or progress. In the end, this path forward depends on three things: politics, policy, and people. Voters will decide the economy they want. Leaders will choose how far they'll go. And the people, workers, families, small businesses, will respond. They'll adapt, they'll resist, they'll rebuild. The next chapter, it hasn't been written yet, but it's coming. Fast. Trade wars may begin with headlines and end with handshakes, but in between, they bring real consequences for real people. What started as a political strategy has become a global balancing act. Billions of lives, trillions of dollars, and one interconnected economy hanging in the balance. Whether you're a consumer, an investor, a worker, or a student, you are part of this story. This isn't just about Trump, or tariffs, or China. It's about the new world that's taking shape. A world where economic power is shifting, where the old rules no longer apply. And in this world, knowledge is leverage. Those who see the change early can adapt faster, prepare smarter, and protect what matters most. So as the tariff battles heat up, as the political storms grow louder, stay informed, watch closely, but more importantly, understand why. Because in a time of uncertainty, clarity is your greatest asset. This is more than a policy debate. It's a global reckoning. And it's just getting started. If it feels like the world is changing too fast, if you want to stay one step ahead, then this channel is where you belong. We don't just report the headlines. We decode the meaning behind the moments, from global markets to your personal wallet. Don't just watch history unfold, understand it. Click subscribe now and turn on notifications so you never miss a shift. Because in uncertain times, knowledge is your greatest protection.